All right, so it's 1996. Ed Harris, Sean Connery, and Nick Cage come together starring this little gem called The Rock. Let's talk about it. All right, so we both just watched The Rock, and I was looking at the IMDb profile for the movie, and the description seems to not match up with what I just saw. Let me just read this and let me know what you get from this. A mild-mannered chemist and ex-con must lead a counterstrike when a rogue group of military men led by a renegade general threatens a nerve gas attack from Alcatraz against San Francisco. Was he an ex-con?
Yeah, that's the exact plot of this movie. What do you mean?
He was an ex-con? How did I miss that whole part of it? When did Nick Cage get declared an ex-con?
No. It's a mild-mannered chemist and an ex-con.
Oh my God, that's right.
Okay, we should keep that in the video.
Yeah, sure.
Are you gonna be
I read it as a
a
mild-mannered chemist and ex-con.
This is the green eggs and ham problem, right?
It is.
What color is the ham? I don't know.
It could be green eggs or ham. Yes.
Green is it green eggs and ham or green eggs?
But even that
and
description
ham?
is not accurate because he's not an ex-con. He's still a con. He's in jail when they get him.
Yeah, there's a small amount of nuance there as far as his current conness.
I'm going to say that's why I was thrown by this so much. All right, so the in general plot that is roughly accurate. We have Nick Cage, who is a soon-to-be father, and he's supposed to be some amazing chemist, but really he just seems like a bored guy in the beginning that gets thrown into a situation that seems to be beyond his depth, but does survive it.
He's playing almost like a Jeff Goldblum type of role here.
Yeah, it's actually very accurate
at times, but then also actually unlike Jeff Goldblum. Spoiler alert. I don't know about this movie anymore. I'm totally. There's a whole problem here we're gonna have during this review. Oh my God, he's playing like a Jeff Goldblum character, but he's not really doing like I can't do anything. He rises to the occasion and becomes like every other character basically. Yeah.
Yes, but definitely saved by Sean Connery. Sean Connery plays like the best escape man in the world somehow because he was MI6 or whatever, Majesty Secret Service, some bullshit. And,
SAS, I think. Yeah, the real deal.
Very interesting. He's been in jail for 2 decades or more.
So long, his entire life.
Pretty much.
And he stole all of America's secrets.
Yeah, all of them.
Literally all of the secrets.
And they're all contained in one little microfilm, and I'm like, okay, that's a thing. But then we have these little orbs of green gas that the government has that get stolen by a patriot who wants to, threaten their use against Americans so that he can get his fallen soldiers the credit they deserve and compensation for their loss in the name of America. Yeah,
which took me a second to unpack, but then I'm like, oh, okay.
It makes sense slightly, and honestly, when you carry out through what actually happens in the movie, the fact that Ed Harris's character, who is the lead general here, doesn't actually want to use them, just use them as a threat, he still does maintain his righteousness throughout this film.
Sure.
Everyone around him, though, is scumbags, and he's surrounded himself by, the dregs.
Yeah. I've never worked with you before, but your reputation precedes you. And they're like, "Thank you, sir. We're obviously the bad guys." And they shake hands and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
No, but a great group. Did you notice that? We're getting on a tangent here.
Tangents are what we do best.
Did you notice that one of the bad guys, the Army Marine people, is Tuco from Breaking Bad? In this, he has a little bun. The guy has the grill and he's beating people to death with his bare hands. I need the ice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's one of them. There's a lot of little parts here.
That character.
Almost everyone in this movie actually is somebody who you're like, I know that guy, and that guy's from that thing, and this is that guy.
Yeah, literally. Every role essentially is filled by someone who looks vaguely familiar or might as well be somebody else or whatever. It's an incredible time capsule or achievement of that. Where there's dudes that they just kill. They just have one line and then they kill them, and I'm like, that's the guy from this. That's the guy. This is the epitome of the that's the guy movie. Everyone's in this movie.
It certainly is. All right, so before we going into everything, what did you remember about this movie?
I'm so glad you brought that up because this is what I remembered. Fuck the prom queen, green balls, planes go overhead, Michael Bay, and that's sort of it.
I had the memory of the little Scooby-Doo train car things when they're below Alcatraz, the putting the green thing in the guy's mouth and him dying from that. I couldn't remember. I remembered him jumping out of the. I thought it was that he took that rope and then repelled and escaped using that.
Yeah, I thought
but
that's where
that wasn't
going.
Exactly what happened. But I remember him escaping this and that. the weird guy in the elevator, like, but do you like your haircut?
Oh God.
Who was from Yes Dear. He's a famous comedian.
Yeah.
But
That's
yeah,
who I think it
remembered
was.
this movie being good, but couldn't remember a lot of what got you from point A to B and how
Yes.
things worked their way out.
Because I think that as a kid, your brain like fixes because they don't get to the rock until an hour into the movie.
Yes,
And the
it's a
movie's-
long movie.
The movie's over 2 hours long, and I don't think that it justifies it. I think there's so much
There's some
bloat
fat.
in the beginning where I'm like, oh my God. And honestly, I'm very critical of this movie. I don't know. Let me just say, all things considered, right? I was going into this like, well, this is the Michael Bay, but it's back when Michael Bay was good, right? We're going to go revisit this. It's going to be like, oh, this is awesome. It's this old school action, whatever. And it's going to have Michael Bayisms in it, but like before they all got like bad or whatever, right? And like, unfortunately, and I feel bad about this, honestly, I'm like, no, this is all the same Michael Bay stuff that like I used to not like, and I've grown as a person, and this movie does not do it for me anymore. I looked at like other things that came out around the same time, and I already mentioned like indirectly Independence Day, right?
Sure.
Or even
Jack
Bad
Goldblum.
Boys, right? Yeah. Where they inject intentional comedy or supernatural or sci-fi like elements into it, which makes it into something that I then like I buy it more and I like it more or whatever.
Okay.
This movie, every action thing, I just like tuned it out kind of, and there's just all this yelling, and the camera's like shaking around all the time, and I was like laughing at it more as like a cheesy, like the way that we'd watch like a bad movie now. I was like laughing at like the cheese and how it's so dated now, or like whatever, and it didn't like recapture my old like fuck the prom queen, yeah, like thing that I thought it was gonna do. I was very disappointed in myself and the movie. Thank you.
I
don't know how you feel about it.
I wasn't sure if this was. I'm like, is this one the one? Like, do you want to know who shot JFK? I couldn't remember because I couldn't remember that through line of that.
How does
Sean
he end
Connery's
up in the
character
car
is
in Mexico or
yeah.
no?
I couldn't
Fort
remember
Worth?
that he was in prison for having all those secrets. So I was like, you're thinking of the wrong movie. That's not this. And then I was like, once they were like, I'm like, oh, it is this. Okay, cool.
Exactly.
Because it's like a weird National Treasury thing, and I was like, what is that?
Well, and like the minecart stuff feels like Indiana Jonesy and stuff.
Yeah.
Like there's all these weird. It feels like these other.
Do you think
whatever
those
it's there.
things would even have been in Alcatraz?
I don't
What is
know.
their purpose?
And like, and they even call the one thing like okay. To put a cap on everything from my earlier rant, right? It feels like a parody now because it's been so long and everyone's parodied all this stuff. I had to keep reminding myself like, oh, this was like new then. This was like, oh my God,
I don't
can't
even
believe
think it was that new
no?
then because Scooby Doo was doing that in the 70s.
Doing what, Scooby Doo?
The like, oh, I'm in a minecart. Oh, I'm rolling down the thing.
Oh, no,
I'm doing this.
Well,
and that.
so I started thinking about like the other things and all that stuff or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But like the actiony, like I was gonna mention I did it in the wrong order. Like they call it like a steam engine where there's like flames and he's like has to roll through this thing or whatever. And that jogged a memory where I was like, this is the most awesome thing ever. And then like when he opens the door, you're like, oh, he is awesome. And like watching it now, I'm like, what? This is like a Key and Peele sketch the way like the music slams in and it's all loud and the camera's just. There's a shot where they're in like a car chase and like the camera's just like zooming in on his face like this. It's this crazy thing to show you how like extreme it is. And the way movies have evolved now, that's like a tame scene. And I'm like, oh my God, this is hilarious.
I love the character who says, dude, you like totally screwed up your Porsche or like whatever he says.
It's not mine. Yeah.
The best part of this movie for me was when they were going in to steal the green orbs. I love that that they attacked this base.
Oh yeah,
with no casualties. They lost one of their own men.
They
from
mentioned
the
like
green orb.
we only have 30 minutes before these darts wear off. I wrote down darts.
It was like a combination though. Like it was like choking this guy out, and one guy had like a beanbag gun and like shoots a guy through the window. And I was like, oh, they went through a lot to make sure they had non-lethal force, but they shot that guy out of a 2-story window, like landing on his neck. I think he might be a quadriplegic, but he's probably still alive.
But technically still alive.
But the way they did that, I was like, very cool. Because I'm watching it going like, he is a patriot, though. These men did nothing wrong. Why are they going to... And I'm like, oh, he's not killing them. This is great.
Yeah. And then we cut to the Nick Cage introduction. Like you said, he has a Rube Goldberg machine set up. Yes. They have to do, like... They have to
too
show...
much time on your hands.
Well, we have to introduce his like profession by having it be like we got a Serbian package and we're yelling and yelling and yelling and the cockroaches are exploding and the baby's spewing the smoke and he's like, oh my God, he's like, I'm not, everyone's cursing like cursing and yelling.
Inject this in my heart. Are you out of your
what
mind?
What the fuck? Are you fucking? I'm fucking dead. You're fucking this. I'm fucking that. It's this gigantic thing and it just keeps cutting and it gets tighter and tighter until the camera's like in the guy's face and I'm like, oh my God, this is so crazy. I remember like literally made me like laugh basically at the whole thing. I could not. I don't know.
Do you think it's funny though that they
Which
have
is okay.
this facility to take these packages they believe to be explosives, and one of the
deliver them
things he
there.
says is he goes this explosive would level this building. We can, like, I'm like, is the chamber you're in
don't
not
know.
bomb proof? What is the
Yeah.
point of it? Why not just go into a field at that point? Like why be there at all?
I know.
Why
It's
are you
the
in the
epitome.
city in the middle of like a
Yeah.
skyscraper?
Yeah, why are you in a fully staffed building you have to evacuate, right? Why is the building not just, like, why are there rooms? Why isn't there just solid concrete and reinforced steel bars for, like, 20 feet of just nothing, right? And just be like,
Because even if
but
one
again,
out of
like,
a million
you know,
is an exploding package that could
Yeah.
bring down the building, why are you not prepared?
And that's the whole thing. I guess that sort of sums it up where it's like, why does it have to be that? Why do we have to shout that like the building, we have to evacuate the building, we're all gonna die, we're gonna level the building. Like, it's already dramatic enough. You're already
If you would have
cursing
just said
and
we're
yelling.
gonna die,
Yeah.
I would evacuate this room because it might break the seal and the sarin gas or whatever could get out. I would have had no problems with it.
Like,
it doesn't change the escalation. It's
yeah.
still a thing. I don't
Exactly.
see anybody outside this room anyway. I don't care about them.
Exactly. We have no idea even the concept. This is a perfect little microcosm, right? They could have trimmed out those little lines of dialogue. He could have just said, "Yeah, seal the door, seal us in here. We're not gonna make it. Oh my God! Cut the red wire, cut the blue wire. Oh my God!" And they could have just done that. It would have been fine. But they have to keep piling more stuff on. Oh, and then the thing's gonna explode. That's gonna kill more people. That's gonna explode too. We're all fucked. The whole thing's fucked. We're fucking fucked. Fuck. And just keep,
Yeah, like there's a lot of things I thought they either addressed oddly or should have cut out entirely.
What do you got?
The pregnancy.
Yeah.
I would have cut that out. The
Okay.
girlfriend I would have cut out. I would
Perfect
have cut
example.
out all of that because
It's-
it meant nothing.
It's not enough that you're going to kill hundreds of thousands of people and have literal hostages that are literally innocent right
Yes.
there. It's not enough that Nick Cage is going to die.
needs a new baby.
We have to have her there, and she has to be pregnant. Oh my God! And Sean Connery has to have a daughter there too.
But
it
they
can't
didn't.
just
That's
be.
I thought
right?
they didn't play up.
Yeah.
I thought so. You have Sean Connery who's going to leave and like, oh, f this, whatever.
Right.
And you spend a lot of time. He broke out, went to his daughter. You address he has a daughter. The daughter lives in the area that would be affected by the bomb, but never
Yeah.
really say to him, Sean, your daughter is going to die unless we stop this.
Right.
That simple word, I think, would have made him snap right to working for you and doing everything
And
you
it
needed.
would have made it feel like, oh, so we both have a personal stake in
Yeah.
this. Oh, I guess this is right, but they don't even do. I know it's like incompetent to me. I'm just like funny about it.
It just seems
I don't know.
seems weird because it's not lazy writing. It seems like you worked harder to avoid the thing that would have been better.
Exactly. And that's what I mean. This all goes back to like, this is the shit that Michael Bay thinks is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You have all the same stuff. There's the text on the screen.
And I like that
and
little
all that
text
stuff.
bullshit. That's fine.
That's fine. I just thought that when people were saying for all these years, well, yeah, Michael Bay is bad now, but he was great, and I'm like, yeah, he was great. Those movies are great. I'm like afraid to watch Bad Boys again now.
It's not that he was great. It's that movies were worse.
Movies were shitty. Yeah.
Movies were worse.
Yeah.
So anyone who came at something with a different angle, a little bit more extreme and better, higher budgets with cooler things and actors and like plots even remotely conceivable, you're like, oh, right.
I know.
And now, because anybody can make these amazing things, it's less impressive. And now it's just like, all right, it's just throwing explosions and shiny metal. I don't give a shit.
Okay, I was gonna say, how did you feel? Was this like a nostalgic, awesome thing for you?
It wasn't
Did you engage
super
with it?
nostalgic. It definitely felt like a movie you'd like sit down and like you'd catch halfway through on TV and probably watched a whole bunch of times, which
Yeah.
is what it was for me.
Definitely.
I,
Channel
I,
11.
I didn't not enjoy it, but it felt dated to me, where it didn't have that same joy. And I have this problem where I watch things and just think how I would improve them, and like that makes them worse for me.
That's a curse, yeah.
But like I didn't hate the movie. It definitely felt long. And I'm a guy who likes a longer movie because I enjoy just seeing a character for longer and seeing what
Yeah.
they can do and more things. And like I will take quantity over quality almost all the time. That's who I am. I'm that kind of
Okay.
guy. I would rather have a show go on 2 seasons further than it should and be just horrible than to end at an appropriate time.
Yeah.
But this movie felt too long for me. I think if you would have shaved a half an hour off this movie, and I think it was easy to do, it would have been better. I thought certain things happened out of order.
Yeah.
At the end, especially with the bad guys, where I was like, wait a minute, why are the bad guys that are like B-list bad guys still alive and the A-list ones are dead? Like
Yeah.
that seemed a little strange to me. But like, they also are like A-listy actors now. Like those people, I see them
Yeah.
in things. So I'm like, but you didn't know that then. You
No,
weren't
and
saving things. Like that guy,
yeah.
that guy had 3 lines, but he's the last one alive. That's weird.
He's like your final boss. Like,
Yeah.
what is going on here? And you're fighting at the same time. So why is that guy even fighting you? Why are you even a bad guy to him? Shouldn't he be with that
I
guy
don't know.
helping him? It was very and like I feel so bad picking it apart because it's The Rock. I should be like, oh no, this is what started it all. All those movies you think are better, they're just stealing stuff from The Rock. All right, but
I don't even know how true that is.
I don't know.
And I don't dislike the movie. I think at the end of the day, it's still a thumbs up movie for me. It's something that I think is worth a watch. Had I not seen it at all, I think that there might have been twists and things I would have liked and been like, oh, that's cool. Like, I like the idea of this weird orb delivery system, but it seems so impractical to exist that I can't imagine it. Because I'm like, well, why are there many orbs so that, like, in the production facility, you could be like, oh, here's a smaller bomb. We only put 4 orbs in it. And for the bigger bomb, and they're held together by, like, a little chain. And when one, like,
string of pearls.
The idea that when they lifted it, it, like, shifted, dropped, and, like, one of their soldiers dies in that little barracks because of that. I'm like, wait a minute. There's no, like, safety lock? Like, they just fall out? And I know that was to show me what they will eventually tell me later this like does, where like it kills you in this most horrible way. But to almost have nobody die using that, I think it was mostly because they're like, all right, well, we need to show it. They need to know what the stakes are.
I know.
So we'll do this.
So showing us would have been enough. Then literally telling us again, all right, in like the scene was like too much, right? Or you could have had Nicolas Cage telling us while simultaneously there's guys setting up one of the missile things somewhere else in the prison and it drops there, maybe, right? Don't like show me and then literally an hour later like tell me in great detail just to have Nicolas Cage arguing with Sean Connery and being like really angry at him for some reason. Where I'm
They
like,
go
what
over
the going on here?
the range of like each like a particular one at one point, and which made me think that later, because you see him like holding one, I'm like, he's gonna throw it like a grenade, and it's gonna dissipate but kill like the people in that immediate area.
Right.
That'll be cool. That doesn't happen. But what does happen is bad. Let me explain this. He takes the orb, puts it in his pocket, and then proceeds to fight the man physically.
Does like
for
flips.
Minutes. Yeah.
I wrote this down. This is a whole like for a while I was just like, this is old, this is cheesy, this is fine though, everything's fine. Then little things started to come out where I was like, wait, what? And that was one of my major things.
That right there, because I'm like,
It reminded me.
It's not like he's a random guy who like, I was a security guard in the wrong place at the wrong time, and I have to do this. He knows exactly what those are, and would not want that anywhere near him.
And we might say, well, it probably is dangerous, but only if like you dropped it from a great height. But in
the opening
in that
scene showing
intro,
those.
it just rolls into the wall on its
and
own
breaks.
power and just breaks from that. So it reminded me, I'm not sure if it's Laurel and Hardy or what is it. It's some old black and white thing.
Okay.
There's a thing on some fake game show where this fat comedian shows up, and there's a thing where he has to put an egg in his pants and then do all this stuff.
Okay.
Right? And it's hilarious because there's all these things happen, and like it looks like the egg's broken like a million times and all these different things. And at the end of it, he gets like disqualified, but then he pulls out the egg and he goes, what? Or whatever, because the egg's been fine the whole time somehow, or like whatever. It reminded me of that, where when he pulls it out, for some reason that like flashed into my head, and I'm like, oh my god, it's still fine.
So goofy.
It doesn't ruin the movie, but it's stuff like that where I'm like,
it reminded me almost like a Surf Ninjas thing though, when he takes the thing out and puts it in his mouth. I'm like what? Or Three Ninjas rather, not like.
Light him up,
what?
man.
I'm like, what is happening here? Like the guy like the ball's pretty large. Like you could not just put that in a man's mouth. Like, easily.
Unless he wanted you to.
Yes. And at that point, like, I'm like, either way you're going to die. Either you're going to break it on his teeth or you're going to shove it in his mouth. Like, it seems like such a weird, like, why would that be what you're trying to do?
Because Michael Bay thinks it's awesome. That's the
and
whole
it was,
thing.
as a kid, I think I did think that was awesome.
I might have, yeah.
But it's very foolish to think an adult wrote this.
I know. Okay, good. I thought you were going to be like, nope, this is great. How dare you impinge this? Like, I don't know if I would tell people to watch this if you're into movies and you want to fill in all of your gaps if you've never seen this.
Yes.
I never want to watch this again. And while watching it, I was like, I'd rather not be watching this right now. And we've watched literally actual bad movies that we said were bad before and then we said were bad were after that I physically enjoyed myself more in the middle of, which is insane because this is The Rock. It shouldn't be like this.
We watch a lot of things, and some of them do feel like chores versus others. And I think things that I've seen before almost are the more ones like, and that makes sense, feel more like a chore. But going into a movie that I thought was good and then like rehashing and discovering it wasn't as good as I wanted.
Is that what happened here?
I think
Wow.
I think it wasn't. I think I would have been like that movie's an A, and now I'm like, it's like a B.
Right.
Like I didn't. I'm not saying it's a shit movie.
It may not
I
hold
just
up or
think
whatever.
I think not remembering those pieces that get you from A to B to C to D to close out this weird thing.
Yeah.
I think helped it. And then once you're like, oh wait, that's how they got there.
No,
That's
yeah.
kind of dumb.
I think it holds up more like in your memory from being a kid or whatever. Because I was noticing more I wrote down a whole section of Michael Bay things or whatever the hell. Yeah, okay. They keep cutting back to like not tourists. They are tourists, but hostages.
Hostages.
They keep cutting back to them, but in this way that felt all weird. It was as if like you like started the camera and then said action, and then they were like, "I'm hugging you" or something. It was this weird like.
You didn't have a gun.
in the
I have a
middle-
gun. If I would have known, I'd have brought
Yeah.
my gun. I'm like,
Well-
all right, that's some ad lib because she's a comedian.
Okay, I didn't. Did you recognize her? I didn't,
Yes,
I
yes.
I did not recognize her.
I've
She's
seen her
famous?
on Def Jam. I don't know her name though.
Yeah, but that was something too. So like, I am not a social justice warrior, but that's like there's some stereotype stuff or whatever, right?
Well, Michael
His,
Bay is all about that kind of
But
stuff.
like, this was supposed to be back before he was like that. This is supposed to be
I
like,
don't think
like,
people
like the
change.
good
I
movie.
think people just learn.
I know. So that's not that disappointed me, but I was like, oh, we have like a dainty hairdresser who's like doing all that stereotype stuff.
Yeah.
There's all these unnecessary, and I sound like someone's grandpa, but like unnecessarily like sexual references. There's some lead in your pencil. I get up 3 times a night to piss. Prison rape, sex appeal jokes. All these things that
Yeah.
people criticize Michael Bay today about that in the Transformers movies, and I go, well, I don't really care. I just didn't like them anyway. But they're still here. Everything's still exactly the
The
same.
times
right?
are just different. Things are not as like nothing is acceptable now.
Yeah,
And-
that's true.
But that's almost a shame. Where
Yeah.
like people don't like not everything is meant to offend somebody. Some things
Yeah.
are just they're just there. And if you want to find offense, you're gonna find offense.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think people were of that mindset then.
No, and I think the difference is that if you have a character who does a thing, it like enriches that character. And if every character just all talks the same, everyone just cursed the same and yelled the same, and it cut quicker and quicker in
Yeah.
every conversation. And I'm like, wait, no, like Nicolas Cage should handle the situation differently. Why is he handling it the exact same way that Ed Harris handled the situation? This is insane. It had this weird thing, and like a lot of directors that I even do like do that. Tarantino or Kevin Smith do that, but it's still I'm like, no, this is the old good movie. Why is this doing this? This should have like whatever depth, like he should prove his worth as a like chemical weapons guy, and like he should prove that he's not too old and he really does have a heart of gold, and they should do all that or whatever. They're like playing Highlander music at the end when he's like saving him, and then
I
going
like
like,
the
"I'll see
the
you later."
music.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like the because it's very classic token like action drama type music.
Oh, yeah.
And that kind of stuff fills me with that
It
time
makes you
period
happy?
nostalgia.
Yeah.
It does. And I know it's kind of dumb, but it does, and I enjoy it.
It made me laugh, which again is like this. That that means I may have enjoyed it, right? But it was like
Yeah.
it feels like a parody because it slams you. It's like so loud, and it's doing
Yeah.
that stuff. Which again, like it feels like MacGruber now. It doesn't feel like let's do this. And if it worked for you, that's completely
It's
I
not
understand.
that it necessarily worked for me. But I will say sure with that. It's that it's just
Yeah,
such
you can
a
enjoy a
it's
thing.
such a stereotypical like 90s
Yeah.
music, and I'm very much that 90s kind of guy, and I like whenever I those things I'm like all right, like they're like theme songs from shows in the 90s. I'm like yeah get them, like
Right.
I get that
You
vibe.
feel that feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is just more revealing for myself that like it has to have that edge. It has to be absurd and comedic, or it has to have aliens or vampires or whatever.
Preferably.
Yeah, like I was thinking back to other things like The Firm or The Pelican Brief or different stuff.
Okay.
You can't handle the truth.
Uh-huh.
Like all those things, and I'm like, I think that's not like my thing. So I think if that's all the movie is, where I'm like even if the movie was this, but Sean Connery's character like knew kung fu, I'd be like, oh, it's a nostalgic joyride, right? But since it was just military punching and like yelling, I was like, I'm not interested in this. I need some angle, right, to come at it. I think.
The angle that I would have approached these movies as a kid, and even almost now, is that it would be something that either a friend, you'd be at someone's house and you'd be like, oh, you got to watch blah blah blah, and you'd be like a hostage watching something, or you're a hostage to like the TV, where like
Wait, what do you mean?
hang on.
Okay, I'm
So like
so confused.
you turn on TV, you have 7 channels available to you, and this is on one of them, and everything else is garbage. So you'd be like, all right, well, what is this? This looks okay, and you'd watch it, and I'd probably enjoy myself. But
Okay.
they're not necessarily things that I would have went out of my way to watch on my own.
As a
Like,
kid or
I don't,
now? What do you mean?
Well, as a kid now, I don't have. I'm not the constraints. There's so many things in the world that I could watch at any given time. You don't have that same thing. But at like the 90s, early 2000s, when you had limited options as to what you were going to watch, these were the things that would be like I would reluctantly watch, but then enjoy.
Sure.
I don't think I would ever have gone to the Blockbuster and rented The Rock. I wouldn't have gone to the movies and be like, I'm going to see The Rock. But you'd be turning on the TV, you'd see Sean Connery, be like, what's this? Oh, he's like an escape or something? All right, and then you'd watch the whole movie.
And no matter where you start, because there's so much stuff,
exactly.
You're always going to be, totally. I thought you were starting that sentence with, like, how you would improve the movie. And you said, like, what I would do is, and then you were like, hold people hostage and make them watch The Rock. And I was like, what the hell are we talking about? No, they were at, on the tour, at the prison. You can't make them watch The Rock there. You'll be in the same movie.
Spaceballs it.
You're Spaceballsing it, sir. It's fast forward.
So this movie we said has crazy characters in it. There's so many people.
It has
so many
everyone
actors.
in it. Yes. Where some of my brain goes like, I know that guy from this, so you don't even have yes, you did introduce his character. He's just Kowalski. He's just Sergeant whatever. But I know his face so well that I already know everything about him. It's fine, right? That whole thing.
And almost everybody, from the random cop guy to the hairdresser,
FBI director, whoever.
Yes.
Everyone.
His second in command, the head of the bad guys. There's so many people in this. It's actually crazy. And I don't know how famous they were at the moment.
Right.
But
that would be a whole thing. Figure out the years.
I always wonder with things like, is it an outsider scenario where everyone you cast just happened to become A-list celebrities 10 years later, or were these ones already more on the road? Like if you have an open audition, you're gonna get people to come in, and you're gonna take the best people. So is this just why they became A-list actors because they were the best then, and that's how we know them now, or did they already have this thing and they It's very weird and interesting.
Are they character actors because they were just working and talented during this time frame, and therefore they were in this movie too? Or was Michael Bay or his producers or whoever, these geniuses who saw all this talent and picked it out of the thing,
out of the ether?
Yeah, we had Candyman, guy as the bad guy. We had Michael Biehn, fresh off of I think Alien or whatever, right? Aliens.
We had Dr. Cox.
Oh God, it was Dr. Cox.
Dr. Cox.
For a second I was like, that almost looks like Dr. Cox, but he would be too young or old, or that's not him or something. There were several of those where I'm like, I think that's him, but he's the wrong age. But it probably is the same person.
Wasn't it
right?
the hand guy from The Big Hit was one of them?
Oh my God! Yeah,
I think that was.
I think literally everyone was in this movie.
There's just crazy amount of
and
people.
Certain people, like the mustache guy, I was like, oh, you must be someone, and his name is William Forsythe, and I'm like, oh, I know that name.
Yeah.
And he's been in all these people who've always been Sergeant whoever or Lieutenant whoever, and as they age, that same guy was an FBI agent in some other movie, and or a cop in something. They go, like Detective Lebowitz, and now he's the FBI director. They're slowly graduating up for the guys. Now he's the Mr. President, and he's the man or whatever.
The casting, was really good, and that was not at all a shortcoming in this movie. That was what really drove it to where it had to be. Not at all part of the issues that we have in this. Issues on this, I think, are almost exclusively in the writing.
And even the direction, the production, the editing, and all that stuff. And that's even you're saying, at the time, it might have felt wow. And now, looking back, I'm kind of it's like a sketch. It's like a thing.
Yeah,
it's
a little
great.
bit.
Yeah.
How did you think Nick Cage was the right role for this?
I don't know if they used him right. Like I said, because he morphed into the character that you just would have been anyway. But he started out right. He's plucking the guitar. Honey, you're pregnant. He's doing all that, and he ends back there too. He ends with sorry, and running out with the microfiche and the just married and the car driving off. But in the middle, he's punching the main bad guy. He beats the army guy with punches, and he shoots people, and he does front flips into slats that break easily. I was like, what? And that's normal for the time. It's fine. But I was like, what?
It just it was very strange for that character because you would have wanted to more either clumsy or luck his way into surviving things, or have Sean do the whole thing.
Right. Or
Sean played the character the same throughout the whole thing. You're all right, that's the dude. He's got this. And I really like Sean Connery. There's not many things with him that I'm like, that.
No, he's doing his thing. He's always doing that thing.
And he'd be on a lot of things that would be on the Channel 11, Channel 9s that you would see in constant repetition.
Oh, yeah. That's what we talked about earlier.
Hunt for Red October was on. I fucking hate that movie.
No, I was going to say, that's what we're talking about. It's when it's on TV, the cable, this is in that same rotation with all these other thrillers that are the same.
Yes.
And this would stand out amongst those. That's probably where it gets its thing from.
Yeah.
What do you think about fucking the prom queen? I forgot that he says she was the prom queen.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is that part of your character where like you worked so hard to bag the prom queen, or is your character that you are bagging the prom queen already? Or he's like, I am gonna fuck my wife. That was his like thing.
I would have liked that line better had he kept being like a hapless wit throughout it, and it being like no, the smart guy can get the girl, like type of thing. I know, but this was like no, were you also the quarterback? Like it didn't.
14 years judo, something like that.
Yeah,
judo champion.
It just felt very odd, and I don't know. I like Nick Cage, and I think that he has the ability to do a lot of things, and I think that he was just directed poorly in this and didn't maintain that same character. Because he slipped into every other character he ever does.
Well, he does. So like I feel with Nick Cage the same way I do about Sean Connery, but also like Will Smith and a bunch of other people. If you want Nick Cage, you hire Nick Cage, and he plays Nick Cage as Nick Cage in Nick Cage's featuring Nick Cage, the
autobiography of Nick Cage.
Nick Cage, yeah. He's just Nick Cage. And he's not always, but he usually is, and I think that's where he's at his best. And when he's like, you've been around a lot of corpses, is that normal? Like that sort of stuff. I was like, oh, it's Nick Cage. You're doing the Nick Cage thing. But then, otherwise he was just doing his...
it's very distracting. Well, what do you want me to do, kill him again?
Kill him again? I loved that line. That's what I've written down here.
Yeah,
it's wonderful. Line. They had good, like, witty stuff like that.
They had decent chemistry.
Had that fun crap, the thing.
I always do buy Nick Cage as an honest man, like in things. I think from all the roles he does, he's generally never a liar. He's usually a good guy. Bad Lieutenant was one where he played like a bad guy or whatever. But
I have to see that.
By and large, I like and I trust him. So when he says things like "You wrote up your contract, he's gonna be blah blah," or like when he starts to do anything, I'm like no, I believe that he would be honest. He would tell these things, and Then I saw interviews with him in real life, and I'm like, I don't know what I believe.
Wait, what? Nick saw an interview. Oh, you think he might literally be honest, or he just pretends to be honest really well?
Oh, I think he's a better actor than I gave him credit for.
He lies. Yeah. No, there's something going on
there. He seems like
a
crazy person in real life.
Exactly, and there's definitely layers to him. That's why he's this fascinating study of what he's doing or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
No, I liked the idea of him being honest or whatever you want to call it. Like he was like the good Boy Scouty guy.
Yeah, Boy Scout is a good word to use.
But that's an official federal contract. He was like, what? And all that stuff. Like he was not a field agent. He was like
a my gun in my sock drawer.
Yeah, sock drawer. I didn't think I needed a gun. Ugh. Certain things stick with me though. Of like, you should come to San Francisco too. It's probably just a training exercise.
I think it's weird they don't tell him off the bat what it is.
I know.
Would that not change his sense of urgency and how quickly he would get there?
Exactly. And they have to cut to them fucking, of course.
I thought that was awkward and weird. I'm like, is this what people like? Just like, like he's a straight-laced dude, and it's like, yeah, just in open sight on the roof, and it's not even a tall roof. All the roofs around you are taller. That's strange.
Which you could do then. Maybe he is this off the hinge, and that's what they were going for, guy.
I don't think they pulled whatever that is
right?
off.
Like he
it struck me as very odd.
Stuff. Yeah, it doesn't really. It doesn't come together. I think how they were intending. Because that could be his thing. It's like, oh, I actually love field work. This is great. I'm gonna be the man now. This is awesome.
Yeah.
But didn't really do that.
No. So
real quick.
Sure.
Speaking of actors, Ed Harris.
Okay.
I like Ed Harris.
I like Ed Harris too. I enjoy that he died.
The Abyss, etc. Yeah, he dies.
I thought killing him off was good.
Yeah.
I like him dying still caring. I like that they didn't pervert what I thought he was going to be about, and that's good. Screamers, an amazing movie with Ed Harris.
Yeah, I really liked The Abyss. I have strong memories of all that from like a kid. Speaking of other movies that you watched when you were a kid on Channel 11. I like his little. I wrote down this thing of dialogue when his second in command guy, who's another character actor I've seen in a million things, is like he wants to call it in because they've done the missile, it's missed on purpose because he changed the thing. Ed Harris is like, I don't want to kill anybody. Right, so his second in command guy is like, we have to call it in, we have to make sure that they know that we're serious, all this other stuff, and he says like, you're being asked by an old friend, you're being ordered by a superior officer, you're being given one last chance by a man with a gun, and he pulls it out.
I thought that was a good line.
Like, ooh, and then he goes,
he's got evil eyes, Ed Harris.
Ed Harris,
like, you're like, oh yeah.
There's a bunch of shots that should have been really cheesy amongst all this amongst this tray of cheese, that really worked, where he was like on like a bunch of monitors back at the HQ. And he's talking, he's talking into the camera like the lies stop here and all that stuff. I was like, okay, this is working. This is over the top but good. And then he says, "I thought you weren't ready to kill anyone." And he's like, "I'm warming up," or whatever. Does the
Yeah.
thing. And I'm like, there's little action lines like that I actually.
What did you think
do
about
like.
when they killed all the Marines coming up from the tunnel? Did you think
Oh, that's when I was almost like, "Can I text you and be like, switch? Let's do a different movie. I don't know I don't know why we're doing this. This is ruining my impression of this movie in my head."
Yeah. I
That's
didn't
the whole
remember
thing.
that part at all. I remember
Completely blanked
them
from my mind.
I remember them not being like I was like I know Nick Cage was like kind of alone throughout the movie.
Yeah.
But I was like I don't know how that happened.
I know.
And I'm like did they die in an explosion? Is that what happens? Oh, they get massacred.
No, and like when they're going,
They don't kill one person. They're like the worst.
when they're going in, right? Because everyone's going in. I thought the same thing too. Well, they must drop them off, or they must get sectioned off. The thing must close. They must have to do something else. They must get caught or get whatever, right? Some dumb thing must happen. I did not remember. And it's like slow-mo, screaming, yelling, exploding, yelling, shooting, yelling. The amount of like yelling and music and yelling was so like overwhelming during some of these things that it just became this like, when you know, like after a concert, your ears are just like. It just became like that, right? There was no like punch or whatever.
That particular scene though, like it's such a weird engagement that like I can't give that order. Did you think you were gonna win that? They even call out we have the high ground. You're in like a kill box right now. And as it plays, you didn't kill one of them.
Real quick, I don't know if you can read these notes from here, but I said, all caps, I cannot give that order. Give that order. Roar, arf, 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 woof, woof, woof. I started making like barking noises or like whatever, because they just went back and forth like screaming the line to each other.
Yeah,
over
and then one
and
guy
over
drops
again.
a rock and they all die.
And it kicks it off. But like, I don't know. Like, we've seen that a million times where there's tension, you have guns on each other. This same movie does it later again, where there's guns on each other and then something pops off somehow or whatever.
Yep.
And that one scene, like appalled me, I guess. I don't know. It really got to me like, oh no, or whatever, right?
Yeah, it was.
I'd have to like apologize, about that if I was being like, no, you should watch this. It has all these good things in it. Sean Connery grabs the,
I think
ropes
it
the
would have
guy and
been
jumps off a thing. It's great.
A
This is
lot
great. That's
better.
great.
If that third guy wouldn't have gone up just to die immediately, because what did he think was going to happen? Your whole
Yeah.
team is fucked.
Right.
I thought. In my head, I was like, like right when it happened, I'm like, okay, so the three of them have to take on. Okay, that's a
And that
plot.
guy
And then I'm like,
sacrifices
that guy,
himself.
because that guy also was on like some cop show. He was a familiar actor to me.
And he had lines earlier. You thought maybe he was going to keep having lines. Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
if we got something here. He's dead. I was like, and then I was like, well, how did they die? Like when they're dropping those bombs down, I'm like, God, is this gonna do a thing? Like, is that
Right.
after? Is that before? How does that work?
Well, I wrote down they play whack-a-mole with bombs for a while, where that's this military unit who's just massacred all these other people, and there's like there's maybe a few left. That's their solution. They're just gonna huck bombs below us to blow up the foundation of the old building we're in or whatever.
Yeah,
and like we'll
science.
just
Michael
hang
Bay.
out up here and just hope it's okay or whatever. There's ways to do explosions though.
I
where
could
I'm like,
get throwing
wow.
grenades down because to climb down would leave you
Is
very
a
vulnerable.
dangerous position. Yeah.
Yeah. But you could never be sure, even now. Like,
No, you'd be
there
like-
could still be bad guys.
Exactly.
Like,
Years
who knows?
later, there could still be people down there. You would have no positive way of knowing how many people entered, and if you ever got them all, it'd be a whole thing.
What do you think about those scuba diving things? To talk back to like
Those things you hold and they like drive you. I see that in movies from time to time. I like them.
the little ones that they hold and propel. That's a real thing. You could buy that on Sky Mall. Those are like a couple $1,000s. It was the submarine-esque thing that like a Crash Bandicoot vehicle. That I was like, what the hell is that?
That looked like a ride.
What was the purpose of that?
That looked like a ride on tractor mower thing, but underwater where they were going or whatever.
That thing I thought was goofy, and then it's like, just drop it.
That scene happened really early, and it was before I developed this negative opinion of the movie. And I just remember thinking the whole time, like, empathizing still with Nick Cage as, like, the egghead guy or, like, whatever, where I was thinking, like, if I was in that position, I'd be the guy where they're all shouting and, like, slapping each other's helmets, and I'd be like, what? Wait, now? Oh, go? Oh, God. I would have no idea what was going on. It's all, like, loud and intense and all that stuff. I just had that thought. It made me laugh.
An issue that we didn't address is this whole thing was if you try to get here, we're gonna fire these missiles, and then they're like, okay, we see 3 helicopters coming. You'd think that they would have to do something. Then B, they're like, okay, 2 of them left. Where's the third one? I don't know. And then they're like, they don't do anything still. Then it's like, okay, we're actively being engaged. still don't do anything. And like,
yeah, they never make good on that threat, and it's just kind of dropped. And even then, there's a whole other, like, it's fine to do that, but then later you have a whole thing about how, like they're not being taken seriously.
Of course they're not.
Their threats. Yeah, but it's not connected to that. It's only brought on by the other thing, right? It feels weird. It feels like the script was written in sections or something. And it's just
I would have
like
liked them to
things.
blow up the Raiders and actually see this be a thing. Like,
and
that
that's
could have been
why you
interesting.
didn't, right? You didn't, and that's why it's only Sean Connery and them. Right.
Oh no, I meant the team, the Raiders. The missile, the missile flies. At
Was
the
it the
stadium.
Raiders? Oh,
I
God.
believe that was.
I
when,
thought you were just using a very avant-garde term to describe the SWAT team. Folks
that was
or
in
whatever.
Oakland, so it should be the Raiders.
Okay. Yeah, like actually have all like make that all like the death or whatever. Right?
I thought like that could have been interesting. All right, like only one missile gets fired, but you still have like what is that?
Yeah.
40,000 people die. Like
yeah, and
just
it's
like
a perfect stadium thing or whatever. No, I don't know. I don't know why they went to such great lengths to make Ed Harris like a good, like there's a thing in the beginning is like talking to his wife, like don't misjudge me or whatever, and then I have to do this, and then later it just goes into the thing. But he has to die clean. They can't make it like maybe he like went too far, but then when like the people died, he realized he went too far. Or maybe like one of the other guys physically like pressed the button, and then he gives him a look like wait, and then it's like okay, and then they just kill the people that way or something, just to have a little something.
I just thought there was no tension. There was no like all the collateral damage was just the Marines who knew what they were getting into. I think people that don't have no reason to dying really makes you believe something more.
Yeah, they could have killed one or two. Like, in, like, a different movie, you would have met one of those hostages, and they would have been, like, trying to escape. There would have been, like, the younger sister who could fit through, like, some bars somewhere. Some weird thing would have happened. You would have had a whole subplot about some characters that you would have cared about. And then when there's, like, the gun to their head, you'd be like, oh, no, not those characters that you developed.
I'm totally
like, a random
blanking
person.
on when the prisoners get released.
They don't show that.
They don't show that at
I don't
all,
think they show
right?
that. I think, I didn't write it down, but at the end, Nick Cage is like, all 81 of them are safe. And I'm like, you're not even in the same part of the island. How do you know anyone is safe? There was just a giant explosion or whatever. And I really hate the line that he gives when it's like, "What about Sean Connery?" And then
Vaporized.
He just says he's dead. I would have been like, he didn't make it. I would have been like very vague, and then been like, "What?" And I'm like, "Just come get me," like a badass thing. But he's like,
a body can vaporize? Oh yeah, all the time. What
Right?
the hell kind of line is that?
that was out of the other comedy version of this movie that I thought would hold up later if you made everything like like a dumb joke. But so much of it is so serious that I end up laughing at it instead of with it.
We're to believe what he was in the napalmed area. Like, is that
Yeah, the
vaporized?
thermite plasma explosion.
The part
thing.
that he would have been too far away to actually make an assessment about. That's where he died.
Or, well, because Nick Cage had the flares and it exploded right there and he went into the water or something like that. But you wouldn't know. How would he know if Sean Connery, I don't know. Whatever.
No, fuck it.
It's weird, right? It's so many things like that where I'm like,
Lot of
I
little flaws.
shouldn't be worried about that. I should just be like, oh, we had fun. Or
I would
whatever.
love it if
You know?
the island did get completely bombed. Then
Yeah.
they did kill all 81 hostages.
Exactly.
Like, what the hell, man? Green smoke.
I give it a green smoke. I actually normally would hate things like that. Like he has they play the voiceover before he like lights the flares. But I like needed that voiceover by then. It had been like an hour and 40 minutes.
you forgot it.
And I no longer remembered that there were. If he had
The
pulled
smoke
out,
didn't look green to me when he first pulled it. I was like, what's happening here?
if he had pulled out flares, I would have been like, oh, or something like that. It would have been this like moment. Anyway, I think we're circling around here.
Yeah, all right, so what are your final thoughts?
I think I have to say maybe watch it as like a historical thing.
I thought you were going to
But,
say, I suggest watching as a child.
Kind of, honestly, because it's hard to go back to recapture this as it was, and I think personally I was unable to, and I'm going to have my eyes open more now for how people talk about this movie, and whether or not they say, oh, the classics, or whatever. Because, like, I saw Face Off relatively recently. I thought that was good, funny, cheesy, old action movie or whatever. This, though, did not. I think
This didn't have Eliza Dushku in it, though,
That's
so what
true.
do you got?
What else are you going to do?
I don't know.
What about you?
I would say, yeah, I give this, like, a passing score, of course, a worth watch, a thumbs up because I think it's something that you should see. I don't think it necessarily holds up as strong as my memories do, but my memories could have been deceiving.
Right? Memories
It's hard to say.
Hard
It's been quite some time. I haven't seen this probably since I was like 14 or something. So I've had more time than not to not see the movie.
Back when You Are the Rocket Man is awesome, and now it's like not awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, like I still say it should watch. If you haven't seen it in a long time, give it a shot. Let us know what you think about it. If it holds up for you, if you haven't seen it at all, definitely give it a shot because it's something worth watching. So you at least know what people are talking about.
It's an important film.
There's very few movies starring Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage together that you shouldn't see.
Yeah.
This might be the only one. But yeah. All right, guys. So let us know what you think about it in the comments below. Don't die in a fire, and we'll see you next time.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Let us know in the comments below what you thought about it. Don't die in a fire, and we'll see you next time.
If you want to support the show, head over to cannibalvideo.com, pick up some merch.
And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button.
That's all right.
Yeah, that's something.
Whatever.
Fuck these motherfuckers.
This was the original show.